Just north of Daytona, the historic city of Ormond Beach is where the first land speed records were set in 1903. The flat sand of the resort beaches was the perfect spot to test the limits of these early automobiles. The early 1900 classics came from across the country for the opportunity to relive the early days in automotive history.
My name is Dan Smith. I'm the race director for the historic time trial beach races that we have here in Ormond Beach. Each year, as the 100-year anniversary rolls around, we recreate what happened on our famous old straightaway. Just to give you some background, at the turn of the century, there was between 200 and 300 car makers in the United States, and they were all vying to put their product to be the one that put America on wheels. And there was no straightaway. There was no. It sounds ridiculous now, but they couldn't even find a 1-mile stretch of road that wasn't rutted by wagons or horses, and there was no place to try them out. Eventually, they found Ormond Beach, a 23-mile straightaway, Ormond and Daytona. A promoter came here and began a small speed tournament in 1903. It wasn't very big, but it was just enough to get the word spread across the North and the Midwest. And in 2004, the car inventors came, the daredevils came, the guys like Barney Oldfield and Joe Tracy, the famous turn-of-the-century race car drivers, the inventors like Alexander Winton, Henry Ford. Well, Henry Ford didn't come to 05, but Alexander Winton, Christie, the first guy with front-wheel drive, Duryeas, who were really credited with probably the first American production car. Then there was the millionaires came in 04. William K. Vanderbilt was here with a 90-horsepower Mercedes, probably at the time the most powerful automobile in the United States. S.B. Stevens, there was Orendorff, there was all the millionaires came. Some of those fellows drove their own cars, others hired these hired guns. The speed tournaments began in 1903 in a small way. In 04 it picked up, in 05 it became bigger, and it went on for 8 years. We claim to be the birthplace of speed here in Ormond Beach, but a lot of people confuse that with the birthplace of racing. That's not what we claim at all. The first race probably occurred when two cars occupied the same road. Boys being boys, as soon as two cars pulled up beside each other, I'm sure that was the first race. But anyway, what we claim to have, we were the place where land speed records were attempted. We were the first sanctioned speed time trials for land speed records in the United States, and that is our claim to the birthplace of speed.
The event we're having here today is to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the race in 1904, where Harry K. Vanderbilt set a speed record for the large class cars. He was driving a Mercedes, and the Packard Gray Wolf set the speed record for the light car. I brought a recreation of Bob Berman's 1912 Indianapolis race car. The car is built from original 1912 parts, identical to the car. Did a lot of research and about 10 years of work and brought the car back to life. Now, most people don't know much about Bob Berman. They know Barney Oldfield. And one of the things I try to do when I show this car is talk about Bob Berman, because he really was the race driver of the day. In 1909, Barney Oldfield set the world speed record here on Ormond Beach, about 131 miles an hour. 1 year later, Bob Berman took the same car and beat his record by 10 miles an hour at 141 point something, almost 142 miles an hour. Bob was considered the driver of the day to beat. Barney Oldfield got a suspension and sold his cars to Bob Berman because they were friends. Bob raced throughout 1911 with the Blitzen Benz and the Cutting. The Blitzen Benz was used in the unlimited class, and the Cutting was raced in the 600 cubic inch class. And the Cutting actually won 17 races between June the 17th and December the 31st that we've documented. So we've brought back a car that we think is very important, and to bring back some of the history of Bob Berman, who died on his 32nd birthday in 1916 driving a Peugeot in Corona, California. At the time of his death, he held 32 world speed records, with 4 more being confirmed. The next closest man to him was Barney Oldfield, who held 6. So it gives you an idea how important Bob Berman was in the period of time that he lived. But unfortunately, his name has been lost to most people's memories because Barney lived to be quite an elderly gentleman. Barney is known as the racer of the day, but Berman was the man to beat. The car hobby has been a very interesting one. I restored my first car when I was 14 years old, and that now is 52 years ago. I have owned Duesenbergs, practically every classic car you can imagine, but the cars that I really enjoy are the older cars like the 1911 cars and back, because they're challenging. They were the cars that led the nation into what we are today. They were unique. Each one of them was specially made. The car that I'm driving was specifically built for Bob Berman. There was never another car like it. That's why we think it's important to bring those cars back so people can see them, bring them to events like this where we run them and have a lot of fun. It's a thrill to be on the sands where the history was made and to think about what was going on back then and to be able to drive some of the really, truly great cars of their time. It's a fast car, it's a powerful car, so you get that feeling, and it's just a lot of fun.